Hi everybody, this is Dr. Connie, and before we get started, I just want to share this with you. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do unwanted symptoms like gas, bloating, constipation, fatigue, maybe aches and pains, etc., affect your everyday life? I would love to know if you can just chat in the box so that we can have a good idea of what things and how much of this is affecting you. So, I want to also know, next question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how effective have diets, supplements? Kimberly says a 10. Rosetta says fatigue is a common daily. Hema says 7. Michelle says 10, 6, 8 to 9, Taylor go. I cough and gasp sometimes and my throat burns badly. These are all digestive issues, isn't it? So this next question is on a scale of 1 to 10, how effective? Hasty Pudding says 6. Susan says 7. Wow. Huey Catalina says 5. It's all above a 5, right? Our goal is to be closer to 1. And so I want you to know that my intention through this training is to teach you how you can move that number down closer to number 1 so that symptoms play less of a role in your daily life and you can start to live a life on your terms, not your symptoms. Because I know when it's like that, those numbers can affect how you show up in your day. So this is my second question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how effective have diets, supplements, any kind of treatments, and other solutions been in helping you address your symptoms? Please comment below and just state a number randomly from 1 to 10. How effective have diets, supplements, and treatments and other solutions been in helping you address it? 5. 4. Michelle says 4. Susan says 4. Kimberly says 2. So that's why you're here. Hasty Pudding says 5. There's no right or wrong answer to this. Rosetta says 4. Taylor Gogo says 5. So these are all things that you can expect, right, from diets. So let me go on and share another screen. Next is, how valuable would it be if you can learn how to heal your gut all from within so that you never have to go searching for another external tool like a diet, supplement, treatment, or even constant search for another expert, right? So feel free to comment below. I would love to know. Because I know if you're here, you're likely thinking these things, right? And here we go. Another question. How much different would your life look if you were free from symptoms and can spend your days exactly you wanted to spend them without physical symptoms getting in your way, right? These are all powerful questions that we sometimes don't even entertain, right? And if you want a different result, you'll have to take a different approach. How many of you have been trying the same thing over and over again, looking at the same place for answers, expecting different results? One diet doesn't work, so you look for another. This supplement didn't really help, so you try another. You try this doctor, didn't really offer you much solution, so you end up going to yet another doctor for another solution, thinking they have all the answers, right? So I don't know, so bright, I don't know what that means, Susan. Is it my lighting? I don't know. Learning to regulate my nervous system to heal my gut from within was a game changer for me in my health journey. And you'll get to know me a little bit more about where I've been in my struggles. And once I got my health under control and was able to live the life that I wanted, Once that happened, and only then, my business, my relationships, my finances, and overall well-being drastically improved. And that's what I want for you too. And that's exactly what you'll learn how to do this in this training. This training is for those of you who've been on a different diet train for as long as they can remember. You struggle with various gut symptoms and have tried everything but still feel like something is just a little bit off. You go to the doctor and they tell you you're a poster child for health. Nothing is wrong or out of range. And for those of you who can't get the weight off and are frustrated with constant bloat, constipation, even fatigue, aches and pains that seem to suck all the motivation out of you, right? This is why I am hosting this little training. And you try your best day after day to keep doing everything, but you are more confused and conflicted than ever before. This training is to gain clarity on what you have to do, and B, to get rid of all your gut symptoms finally. I want you to have freedom from food, and feel toned and fit, all without dieting ever again. Wouldn't that be great? And rather than seeking everything we think we need to reach our health goals, I want to just let you know that we have to first reach within ourselves to enhance our own digestive function by learning to regulate our nervous system. And I'll prove during this time together that really yoga practiced in the right context is the best way to regulate your nervous system to heal your gut. So by the end of today, which is part 1 of this 3-part live series, you'll know the unseen factors that influence your gut health and why diets, supplements, medications, testing, and seeking professional help won't address the deeper cause of your gut issues. The critical factor that's more important than the specific foods you're eating when it comes to healing your gut. And you'll learn the number 1 cause of inflammation that leads to your poor gut health, and the importance of nervous system regulation and why this is the piece of the puzzle that most are missing. And also how you can regulate your nervous system to start seeing results fast. So I think this is number 5. Your gut is intimately connected to your brain through the vagal nerve. And your gut is also an autonomic muscle. It's driven by the autonomic nervous system. So at this time, I want to invite you to pull your workbooks out, because what I'll share will help you to fill out the blanks in your workbook. Remember, repetition is mother of all learning, and I want you to really get the concepts, okay? Here's the thing. Your gut is intimately connected to your brain, right? Through the vagal nerve. And here's another thing. Your gut is susceptible to your thoughts and feelings that create stress in the body. And this means that it is susceptible to your thoughts and feelings that create the stress. All the tools that you implement, like dieting, supplementing, medicating, testing, and seeking professional help, can only get you so far, is why it's all the more critical for you to get to the root of this issue. This is because unseen factors are what's driving the dysfunction and dysregulation in the body. And unless you tackle the actual cause, you'll constantly be spinning in a cycle of ineffective effort and time. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Connie, and I have been in clinical practice and the wellness and health space for over 30 years. I have degrees in psychology, master's in nutrition, and a doctorate in physical therapy, and have professional certifications in functional medicine, manual therapy, dry needling, craniosacral therapy, yoga, and Pilates, to name a few. And I've been obsessed with health and wellness and healing for the last 25 years. This is because I've been managing an autoimmune condition that started with gut issues as well. So I'm here to tell you that I know exactly how you feel, as I too struggled with gut issues for as long as I can remember. And for so long, I believed I was born with a broken gut. But now I know better. And I believe my chronic gut issues led to my autoimmune disease. I've spent so much money and time on holistic and conventional ways to manage my gut issues, and the results were disappointing because gut dysfunction, which leads to inflammation, is the root cause of most diseases, illnesses, and symptoms. I spent a significant amount of my time in my youth dieting. I was conditioned to believe it was a way of life. So I dieted most of my life. And it wasn't until I found yoga that I realized that my health and wellness efforts was the very thing perpetuating my symptoms because it was so stressful. I believe that it contributed to my disordered eating, added to my obsession with my weight, and it was causing a nutrient deficit in my body, slowly leading, as I said, to an autoimmune condition. So I've sought out the best practices in ancient philosophies when the Western philosophies and treatments didn't really help me. I looked to Socrates and Eastern medicine, both Ayurveda as well as traditional Chinese medicine. And I've been experimenting with completely different strategy, integrating everything I know from East to West, tying it all together in a practical and useful way. Simply because my life depended on me finding the solution for my health crisis, because nothing else worked. I believe our gut health is dependent on each one of you. Our relationships with our food, our health, with others, and most importantly, ourselves, are how we gain balance from within to heal once and for all. So I just want to say that there are 3 parts to this training. Today's emphasis is to reveal the first step you are likely missing in your pursuit of gut healing. Here's the issue in a nutshell. Many of you are making the mistake of thinking that it's all about the diets, some magic supplement, a pill, or an expert who may have the solution to your issues, as if you just haven't found the solution out there. But today's training will reveal how futile that strategy is. It's broken strategy. Because without owning your nervous system, all the tools you deploy outside of you will be ineffective. I'm not saying it's not important. It's part of the equation, but it's secondary to the primary core issue. The problem is that we're conditioned to think it's all about the things outside of ourselves, like diets. But think about it. How many diets are there today? And if it did work, why is there a new diet year after year claiming the same things over and over again while most of us are getting sicker and sicker? To add to this, there's shame around what we eat. There's judgments. So much so that even my colleagues, functional medical doctors and dietitians I've been training with, also hide what they really eat from their patients. To me, this is an example of the conundrum in the health and wellness space. For every headline on the benefit-specific diet, supplement, etc., you'll find the cons to that same diet, supplement, etc. It just depends on your body's capacity to process the food in the body. So how are you supposed to navigate this impossible world of diets? Because here's the truth. Scientifically, it's impossible to study the effects of specific foods in our bodies because the way it is metabolized and detoxified for each one of us, completely different. So what gives experts the authority to tell you what foods to avoid and what foods to include? And the truth is that most diets, especially ones aimed to heal the gut, are restrictive, which has you eliminating certain foods and following a disciplined plan. This is good to an extent, but in order for us to nourish our body with food, we all need joy in eating. The foods represent so much more than calories and macronutrients. The diet culture tends to suck the love of food out of you, when in fact, food is much more than something that sustains your life. It's also comfort. It can be a coping mechanism. It can be connection. It's our culture. It's our values. It's our memories, right? So, having to strip yourself of all this causes stress to your nervous system, which leads to inflammation that negatively affects your gut health. Dieting can affect you at the core of your being, stripping you of your identity. We must shift the perspective on diets. Here's the thing. You regulate your nervous system. Your thoughts, emotions, your beliefs and desires determine its balance. This is why a diet dictated by somebody else, even if it's worked for many, may not be the right diet for you. However, we're unaware of the power that we hold within us. And unsurprisingly, your nervous system, which is your brain, is capable of creating all the chemicals your body needs to thrive. And the problem is that most of us are wired and tired with so much information that most of you right now are simply in a state of analysis paralysis, right? Diets are like a double-edged sword, offering temporary relief but causing long-term harm by dysregulating your nervous system. This is not to say that diets are not necessary. Food does affect you, for sure, and there are good, better, and best foods for you. We simply need a perspective shift on our relationship with our food. But when we demonize foods and create anxiety and shame around them, it becomes a problem. So please refer to your workbook because it's one of the answers in your workbook. And the nervous system is especially or essentially your brain. And according to the Eastern philosophy, which is so much older than the Western scientific approach, firmly believes that gut health is the most important in determining one's health. And I agree. The gut is considered the second brain. It actually shares the same embryological tissue from when you were conceived in your mother's womb. And the gut intimately connected to your brain through, or is connected to your brain through the 10th cranial nerve, the vagal nerve. And your gut is also a muscle. It's an autonomic, smooth muscle controlled by your autonomic nervous system, which also has two parts. It has the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Sympathetic activation is known as fight or flight mode, and the parasympathetic activation is known as rest and digest mode. I am looking for the right, there we go. So here is the sympathetic versus parasympathetic nervous system, right? As you can see, when the body is in a state of parasympathetic dominance, you are going to salivate, your airways are going to constrict, your heart rate slows, and stomach is able to digest, intestines also, as well as to really allow the increased blood flow to the stomach and the intestine. Versus when you look at the sympathetic division, pupils dilate, saliva is inhibited, and heart rate increases, stomach inhibits digestion, liver releases glucose to supply the fight or flight mode, and intestines inhibit digestion. And kidneys release adrenaline, right? Remember, humans are species evolved from the Paleolithic age. We used to run from the saber-toothed tiger for our lives. And when it was that case, sympathetic nervous system served us well. When we are in such danger, our sympathetic nervous system is turned on, allowing us to increase cortisol and drive adrenaline to run for our lives. But the nervous system is designed also to shift back in balance when the threat is removed. However, In our modern world today, we're constantly wired, which confuses our nervous system to shift into the sympathetic mode. And we have a difficulty finding balance back by shifting into parasympathetic. It's like a car we drive, right? It's stuck in max speed. You're just pressing on that gas. But the engine now has no more gas to give. So it's exhausted, which is referred to as adrenal fatigue in us humans. Our attention span also is diminishing by the day in our fast-paced world today. The latest research is 7 seconds before we lose our focus. This translates into our solutions for health. The drug and supplement industry is growing as people seek a quick pill for every ill for fast-acting results because we just don't have time. And if you are like most, you likely have a cabinet full of supplements and don't know what's helping or not. You just need a quick fix. So today I want to prove to you that such things are ineffective, and worse, that it's perpetuating further imbalances in the body, because our body's not designed to have all the substrates come in through supplements. So how do you know that you're really replenishing what you're depleted on, right? So seeking such external solutions is like putting fuel to an already burning fire. So, increasing research also is validating the effectiveness of yoga as a tool for ultimate nervous system regulator. And that's what I want to really hit home with you guys. And what you may not know is that yoga has 8 limbs to its practice. It's complex. The way you practice it within the right context is key. And its goal is to awaken one's soul through consistent practice. There's an increasing popularity of mindful practices like meditation and yoga, and I'm sure you've all heard about it. But it's the hardest thing for people to slow down long enough to gain the true benefits of this powerful practice. It just becomes another thing that they check off in their busy day. And I believe that there's a tendency to compartmentalize such practices as something to do, but lacks the context to tie it all together as the ultimate nervous system regulator. And when practiced with awareness, it can also balance your gut-brain axes and shift your body back in balance from sympathetic dominance to parasympathetic equilibrium. And that's when the magic happens. Truly. Okay, so, and when you have the power to regulate your nervous system, your brain can create the exact biochemical balance within. It means it has the exact pharmacy that it needs within to create the ultimate pharmacy that is specific to your body's needs. So you don't need any exogenous hormones, thyroid, right? Bioidenticals. But yet, even in the holistic space, that's what we look to, exogenous everything until the body balances. But there's not enough being said about the nervous system regulation within. Remember, within our digestive system, we secrete essential enzymes, there's substrates and hormones, along with muscular contraction of the gut. As I said, it's a smooth muscle, your gut. It's called peristalsis, to fully digest, absorb, assimilate what it needs, and eliminate what it doesn't. But as you looked at the image before, parasympathetic and sympathetic, in the sympathetic mode, which I guarantee most of you guys are stuck in, we're not able to digest properly. Your body's not primed to digest. And that becomes a problem. And the problem is that increasing stress and our tendencies to seek answers outside of us, we unknowingly add fuel to the inflammation within our body when we don't learn to regulate our nervous system. Alignment between all your external efforts with the internal regulation allows for this miraculous receptivity for healing. And when your nervous system is dysregulated, no matter how healthy your diet may be, it won't have much effect because the system is in a state of chaos and imbalance. I don't know, somebody's at the door. So I'm just gonna let them. Okay, so sorry you guys, I just got distracted because somebody's just banging on my door. And because the unseen and intangible stress from all things in our lives, including diets, it causes dysbiosis, which is an imbalance in our gut microbiome, which in turn creates leaky gut, which then allows all toxins to freely enter our body to trigger the immune system to fight from within, causing immunological and inflammatory response. So all the things you see on probiotics, prebiotics, and various supplements will be short-lived without the shift from within. There's a silent war going on within you, and it can only be put to an end by you. But the struggle is that when the nervous system is dysregulated, you may constantly feel frustrated, overwhelmed, shameful, guilty, this is big, anxious, defeated, simply unmotivated to do anything. Such feelings create physiological effect within the body to turn up the inflammation. If this goes on for too long, your genes mutate to where recessive traits in your genetic makeup get turned up and further cause turmoil. This, in a nutshell, is the concept of epigenomics, which is becoming highly studied in medical science. We now understand that our thoughts and feelings determine our behavior. It also has a physiological effect. And if you're like most, you're constantly having negative self-talk, which perpetuates negative effects in the body to keep you spinning in inflammation. And unless you change the system itself from within, which can only happen through your nervous system regulation, no amount of medications, supplements, diets, or exercise, even meditation, will help you. You can't even sit long enough to silence your mind. Let's face it, we all know what to do to be healthier. But my clinical experience taught me that all of us are subject to our conditioned thoughts, feelings, and actions. And such things happen under the radar, subconsciously, which is not based on logic and reasoning at all. So it's not you, you're not alone. I too have tried every kind of holistic intervention, meditation, coaching, supplements, diets, you name it, and therapy to get to the root of my problem. But all proved not as effective for me. Not only that, none of those interventions really put the pieces back together in a way where it's cohesive for me in my life. Remember, we're wired to resist change even when it's hurting us. We don't want to change. It's what's familiar. It's what we know. That's why practicing yoga in the right context with awareness connected to the breath can penetrate the depth of your consciousness to get to the core of your being and connect the conscious with the subconscious and regulate that nervous system to enhance all automatic and somatic body functions. So if you're constantly struggling with shoulds, could'ves, or have-tos, it's time to shift your body chemistry to create a balance from within, to awaken your senses from deep within towards balance, finally. Because I know without a shadow of a doubt that when you connect within yourself, it's like getting to the volcanic core that puts you in the driver's seat to prevent it from erupting and causing damage. Okay, so here's another slide. In essence, more critical than the diets themselves is the state of your nervous system in which you consume the foods. Are you in fight or flight or rest and digest mode? Because chances are when you're eating, you're half not paying attention to the food in front of you, You're probably preoccupied working and doing other things, multitasking. When you can regulate your nervous system from within, you now have the power to be receptive to the nutrients flooding your bloodstream. And your body will know exactly what to do with it to optimize its function, because it will be modulated to shift towards parasympathetic. Remember, there are two parts to the peripheral nervous system. There's the autonomic, which has two parts, right? But then there's the somatic. The autonomic is involuntary and subject to unseen influences like stress, like I mentioned, is further divided into two parts, like we discussed, parasympathetic and sympathetic. The somatic nervous system is your muscular system. It's what you say, bicep curls, do some lat work, press ups for your pectoralis, right? Gluteals, whatever. That's your somatic nervous system. And our gut is within the autonomic nervous system. And stress causes negative thoughts and emotions, which activates that sympathetic nervous system or triggers it to go into that mode of fight or flight, which in turn causes dysbiosis, that's right, and poor gut health and decreased motility. But a lot of things are being put out there to say dysbiosis is your problem. Well, what causes dysbiosis? It's further down. It's nervous system regulation, you guys, and motility of your gut. Optimal digestion can only occur under parasympathetic influence, which is for rest and digest. Having said that, the sympathetic nervous system is an essential part of our lives, but the point I'm making is that it's dominant in our lives, which shifts our state of being towards anxiety, fight or flight, like the car that's stuck on overdrive, wondering, why are you so tired? With the gas pedal pressed down to the max all the time. There's no break. The regulation of our nervous system can only occur from within. No supplements, diets, or medications can help when it's stuck in overdrive. That's why I made a claim while you're here. You can heal your gut without diets, supplements, or anything outside of you. I promise. Yoga then is the best tool, is what I want to introduce. It's not the only tool, but it's the best tool that cultivates this body awareness in the right context, modulated by our breath with movement, to silence our monkey mind with focus within, to find calm and peace, to regulate the state of our being. We can tap into this peaceful state of being, and we provide an opportunity then for our bodies to regenerate, revive, and reset. The careful sequence of movements that are connected with breath and focus allows the gut to contract and relax, triggering the peristalsis, which is gut motility, through the vagal nerve stimulation for optimal gut connection. So, research has proven also that mindfulness and self-awareness reduce inflammation by creating internal balance within the body, including the gut microbiome. I know many of you may be thinking, but what does yoga have anything to do with my gut health? That's just for physical exercise. Well, there's increasing research validating the powerful effect of yoga when practiced in the context of gut health and improving vagal nerve activation and brain gut function, all through nervous system regulation. Certain poses in yoga facilitate peristalsis and shift the nervous system from fight or flight to calm and digest in ways no other form of exercise, meditation, or diet can offer. Some of you may be saying, I don't have the flexibility to do yoga. And I'm here to tell you that no matter what your body type, injuries, symptoms, or even disease or tightness you may have, you can do yoga. I agree that not all yoga is practiced or taught the same way. In fact, it's very misunderstood. But when we practice yoga in the context of nervous system regulation, the result, I promise you, is miraculous. This is how you can have freedom from food to heal your gut, gain muscle, lose weight, all without dieting ever again. Let me set your perspective on yoga straight by saying that yoga is beyond exercise, flexibility, and strength. And yeah, those are secondary benefits of consistent practice. But the true purpose of yoga is nervous system regulation and self-awareness. It's the ultimate practice to align with the most genuine and authentic version of yourself. And it sets you on the path of self-discovery towards self-mastery and self-love. And some of you may not be physically active and may be telling yourself, I'm intimidated by yoga because I can barely get down on the floor. I've been a physical therapist helping people regain their functional mobility for over 25 years, and I've seen it all. And I can tell you, without a doubt in my mind, that you can practice yoga no matter what physical condition you are in today. This includes low back pain, any type of sports injury or any injury, accidents, fatigue, weakness, and any physical issues that you may be recovering from. You can practice yoga safely. Another thing that many of my clients have concerns about is the religious conflict. As a Christian for most of my life, I can tell you that the practice of yoga will deepen whatever faith you bring or whatever faith you have by cultivating a deeper connection and discovery of yourself. You will no longer be shaken by the circumstances or waves of the world. You'll finally be tuned into yourself, so much so that you'll be unshakable. It's like you finally have an anchor to your wavering ship that used to float anywhere social media goes or trends go. As I told you, I've been struggling with gut issues for as long as I can remember, but I also secretly struggled with self-confidence and self-loathing, body image issues as a teenager, which led me to the diet culture from an early age. And I know that I'm not alone. Like most of you, I've subscribed to every kind of diet out there, constantly looking for the next trend. It wasn't until about a decade ago I had an epiphany. I began to recognize that no matter what I tried, the effects were short-lived at best. I was always back to square one despite my obsession and discipline with following the specifics of diets, exercising, and taking all the supplements. I began to buy into all things, and after a while, I had a cabinet full of supplements that I didn't know if it was helping. And despite being labeled the health nut from all my friends, I realized I was the sickest one, constantly struggling with gut issues. And my health took a nosedive right before the divorce. And when I was married, I began the certification process in functional medicine through the Institute of Functional Medicine. I was sold on this. And I was implementing all the things, testing myself, my kids, and eliminating all the offending foods, seeing patients like this, eliminate gluten, dairy, sugar, caffeine, and all the processed foods. I became the food police. I followed the elimination diet, the SIBO diet, FODMAP diet, autoimmune paleo, plant-based, all the things. But despite all my efforts, I was constantly struggling with gut issues and symptoms, while my friends and family, who were not following anything, were thriving, all while enjoying all the foods that they want that I can't have. I began to get curious, and that's when I shifted my perspective and I learned about the biology of belief. And through yoga, I began to be aware of my limiting beliefs. Something led me to one day an Ashtanga yoga class one morning where the practice focused on breath with movement. And that class was really the turning point of my life. I became increasingly aware of the thoughts, feelings, and actions I was taking. I realized just how unhappy I was in my marriage, where fighting and yelling were the norm. And I noticed that the tension in my body, mind, and soul, and realized that this effect was having a detrimental impact in my body. I soon had enough courage to file for a divorce shortly after that, which required, I just have to tell you, so much courage. I began to study yoga deeply, ultimately becoming certified at the highest level, learning from the best in the world. Today, I own a wellness yoga studio performing or transforming students and lead one of the best yoga schools, teaching teachers in functional yoga medicine. So yoga led me back to my truth. And it's a powerful tool and the most effective tool that I can use with my patients. Like I said, it's not the only tool, but it's certainly one of the best tools. It brought me to my truth and my values that I had long forgotten. I became less rigid with my diet and eventually stopped dieting altogether. And surprisingly, my autoimmune condition was in remission without any medications. Gut symptoms were completely gone, and weight just seemed like it was just melting off of me as I became physically stronger and flexible, while my mind and emotions were becoming more resilient. Just before the divorce, I've always been high-strung, anxious, and nervous about everything. And I was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue as I could barely get through my day. I was scared. I also struggled with intimacy with my then husband. So that's what led me to functional medicine. To be honest, I had tried everything from hormone replacements, elimination diet, various forms of detox. My bloat and gas were so bad that I couldn't even go to yoga. I was so embarrassed. I tried acupuncture for over a year and the colonics for many months with very little success. After the divorce though, free from the tension of my marriage, I began to take self-care seriously. Something deep within me began to shift as I continued to challenge myself on the yoga mat. My yoga mat became my private sanctuary, and the magical shift was felt and experienced and integrated as I connected to my body through breath and movement. I noticed the sensations in my body that I've never known before, began to feel things that I never allowed myself to feel. Sometimes I would break down into tears during my practice, and other times I would be full of gratitude. Some days I felt so strong and invincible, while other days I felt so weak and beaten up, but it kept showing up on my mat. As I deepened my practice, I became clear on my own desires, my values, and my goals. I became really intimate and understood who I was, finally. I also began to notice my habitual negative self-talk and was able to reveal the deep traumas that surfaced to trigger deep emotions within me. And yoga really helped me to manage my thoughts even better than therapy, and feelings as they came up, and I was able to feel my body in a new way. It was me detoxifying, processing. And it's possible because of the connection through the breath in the autonomic and the somatic nervous system. I began to feel better than I'd ever felt, all without dieting, restricting, and eating all the foods I truly loved. I gained control, focus, and inspiration within myself. And over the last 10 years, I've slowly put together the steps and milestones to empower my patients on their healing journey through nervous system regulation, through using one of the tools as yoga that allows the body to be whole again. This is what I bring to this training, something that is glossed over and dismissed by many as something intangible. And I want to bring this work accessible to all of you so that you can too benefit or begin to shift within to heal your gut once and for all. So I have another image to share. I want you to meet Ginger. So since yoga is a tool I use with most of my patients, because it really does make a difference, here's a quote from one of my clients, Ginger. She says, "Your yoga is what helped me to start moving again. After going from functional and holistic doctors to get to the bottom of my autoimmune gut issues, I began to do your yoga. I started a little bit each day, and each day I gained more confidence in myself and more strength. That's when I really learned about mind-body connection. When I began to work with you, I believed I had sensitivity to many foods. I was on a ton of supplements and had about 5 foods that I was resorting to every single day. The many functional docs did extensive tests and led me to a very restrictive diet plan. I thought that was my way of life, but you gave me hope and reminded me that I have the power to control my health journey, that I was able to get to the root of my issues, which were worsening my physical symptoms. My issues had more to do with my past traumas and toxic relationships that I unknowingly subjected myself to. Today, I'm no longer bound by various restrictive diets, and I'm able to be free as I tune inward to know what my body needs. This is possible because I have learned to set healthy boundaries to protect myself without guilt or shame. By doing the work that I've begun to talk to you about today, Ginger completely transformed not only how she felt, but the way she looked at her health and her life. So this brings us to your homework, because as we know, knowledge is abundant out there. What we lack is the application of what we know in a way we can integrate it practically in our lives. And in fact, through all the holistic interventions, that was what was lacking. I can do yoga over here. I can do Pilates across town. I go see an acupuncturist. I go see a chiropractor. Go to my functional doctor every 3 months, primary doctor every 6 months or yearly, whatever the case might be. It's all fragmented. So I wanted to create a cohesive way, start to finish, of you dealing with your internal environment in ways nobody else can. So I know that you're all here because you're hungry and ready for more. So what's the first step? So I want you to momentarily just sit nice and tall. Close your eyes. Please just trust me. Take a moment to just close your eyes. I want you to relax the muscles around your eyes. I want you to relax that area between your brows. I want you to relax your jaws. I want you to relax your throat center. And I want you to relax your shoulders. And I want you to focus on the beating of your heart. From that place, I want you to take a deep breath in. And I want you to hold it at the top of that breath and slowly exhale. And I want you to pause at that bottom of the breath. So instead of just breathing in and out, understand that there's 4 phases of this breath. And this breath really calms the nervous system. It's a tool I'm giving you that you can have just about in any situation. Deep breath in and pause before you fully let out the breath, and pause. Be patient, trust the process. Breathe in and breathe out. And I'm going to introduce you to the concept of body scan. Just paying attention to your sensory system. Deep breath in, holding at the top of the breath, and taking a deep breath out, holding at the bottom of the breath. Notice what comes up for you. What's the first feeling? How do you feel? Hold it at the center of your mind and see where in your body you feel that. Bring attention to your toes, all your toes, the soles of your feet, the top of your foot or feet, your shins. Bring awareness to the calf, your knees, front thigh, the back thigh, your glutes, low back, the pelvic region. As you breathe in, notice the rising of your belly. And as you breathe out, notice the fall of your belly. Bring awareness to your rib cage, how it expands with inhalation and how it contracts with exhalation. Bringing awareness to your heart, how it's beating without you telling it to. And just allow your body to be and notice how it just knows to breathe in. It just knows to breathe out. One more cleansing breath in. Slow, steady breath out. Feeling the peace, relaxation fall over you. And gently open your eyes, and I want you to see how you feel. Is your mind calm and relaxed? I encourage you to chat and interact with me in the chat below or chat box below. Remember, there's a biological consequence to every thought and feeling you may be having. So, for your homework, I want you to do this exercise at least one time each day. We're going to extract this little body scan exercise and breathing so that you have access to that, especially if you find yourself experiencing stress, overwhelm, anxiety, or any other uncomfortable negative emotions. Do this exercise. Also, there are some questions I want you to answer in the workbook that will help you to bring awareness to your current state of being. Remember, we talked about how your state of being determines the effectiveness of all the tools you use for your health. The diet, supplements, and treatments, right? So this is really a must for you so that you can finally be free from your symptoms. Remember, our yoga isn't a flexibility contest or a place to strike a pose. We focus on nervous system regulation to place you in the driver's seat of your health. Because without your ability to regulate your nervous system, all things that are touted out there will be ineffective and short-term at best. And at this time, I just want to tell you, thank you. I know you're busy. I know there's so much just pulling at you. For you to be here, this means a lot to me, but it says a lot about you. So please, please, please show up, and I'll see you guys all next